Welcome back to another Trade Alts technical analysis update. It's been a while since my last video, and I have some exciting things I wanted to share with everybody, and I'll get to here in just a minute. I'm going to go over some Bitcoin price action, take a look, see what we see, start off on the higher time frames here and kind of work our way down. And then if I have time at the end, we'll pick maybe one or two altcoins to go over. I do plan on doing another public video this week, so we can definitely take a look at some more altcoins then. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to put it in the comments below. And of course, if you could like and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. And obviously liking the video helps tremendously. But with that being said, let's get to the video. All right, so just a very quick announcement before I get started. I've got quite a few DMs about this, about people trying to join VIP. I just wanted to tell everybody that the VIP group is actually closed and there's no new members accepted at this time, probably never. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. And just to briefly share why that is simply because, I'm very happy with the group that we have at the moment. We have some amazing developing traders in there. We have some great traders in there. And, I'm very happy with the size of the group and kind of the direction that it's going. So I kind of wanted to cap membership where it is. And the flip side of the second piece of that I think is pretty cool is that it's free now. So for everybody who was in VIP as of May 1st, the beginning of this month, going forward, there is no $149 monthly Patreon membership fee. It's gonna be completely free forever. So that's kind of like my mission with VIP. As far as it stands now, is accomplished as far as I'm concerned, as far as creating a group of serious traders who are there to kind of like do things, like trade obviously, but that have similar interest to myself. And for anybody who's been trading for a long time, you'll know that trading it's very much, it's kind of lonely at times. It's very much one-on-one, you versus the market. And it's nice to have a like-minded group of people that, is looking at the market, every day and actively trying to get better. So that's, as far as VIP goes, that's why I closed the membership for the time being. And again, like I feel very happy with how the group has come along, how it's developed since I started it back in July. And, obviously now it is like no one's being charged and will never be charged for that again. So anybody who's currently in there. So that I thought that was pretty exciting, something that I wanted to share with everybody. But at the end of the day, like what's important to me as well, so kind of like the flip side of why I'm even sharing this, is because it was getting very difficult for me to be able to balance the information that I share in VIP with the people who are obviously paying significant amount of money to be there every month. But to be able to share that information with the public as well, because that's how this channel started. And that's really what it's about for me. It's not about the money. It's never been about the money. But, part of the reason too why I chose to go the VIP route is that like if I just try to do what I'm doing now and let everybody in, it would be chaos. And it would be very difficult to move forward in an orderly fashion, right? Because you'd have a lot of people that would be coming in, asking the same questions over and over and over again. That type of stuff. It just makes it, it would make it a really difficult environment versus kind of having like a selective group of people who have a vested interest in trying to, improve their trading for the most part. So I just thought, again, like I'm very happy with how it turned out. And again, obviously now it's free for everybody who's in there. So, obviously people are very happy about that. But one very big benefit for myself is that it opens me up creatively to be able to share things public as well, because honestly, I have a lot of fun doing this. So I haven't been doing as many public videos as I used to in the past. I really would like to get back to that, and now I kind of feel like I have more of an ability to do so. So anyway, that's kind of long rant over. But like I thought it was important to share that information. And a positive thing is that all of the archive videos that I have for VIP, which I was gonna make the majority of these public anyway over time, but I will release those much quicker, over like a much faster rate than I have been releasing them since I started doing this. So there's actually quite a few videos that's built up. So I will be releasing those, over the next several months, let's just say, but like there's quite a few of them. So again, that's kind of something that I think is great and that I'm excited to do. So anyway, let's get to Bitcoin. So we're going to use Coinbase chart. We're going to try to keep things as simple as possible. I could talk to you for hours about kind of like what I think is going on and like how I've been trading, because again, it's been a long time since my last update, but I'm just going to keep it as simple as possible here. So here we have Bitcoin on the weekly. So high time frame for crypto. Again, weekly is pretty significant time frame. Crypto is not really that old of an asset class, hasn't been around that long, so I think weekly is pretty fair. You're gonna get quite a bit of high time frame information based off of that. So we have Ichimoku here, which is the model or the module that we're actually going through VIP right now. I just uploaded video 5 last night. But anyway, what do we have? Well, the first question that you have to ask yourself right away is price below cloud or above cloud? That's the very first thing that you look at. It's clearly below cloud. So what does that tell you? Well, it tells me that we're bearish, right? We're definitely a lot more bearish than we are bullish. When is the last time that price has been below cloud? This is what I think is really interesting about the weekly time frame. Way back here in 2020, before this massive run up to new all-time highs, right? This is really the last time price broke below cloud. So we kind of zoom back in here, kind of give you an idea. So here, price got above cloud, worked its way back inside. It basically chopped inside a cloud for a very long time. You're talking since like mid 2019 all the way until, almost, what is that, 9 months? Something like that. 9 months of chop inside the cloud, which is not abnormal. What happens? It's kind of hard to see here. You have a bearish TK cross. Price closes below cloud. And then the big flush. So this is your coronavirus March 2020 crash, right? But what was kind of one of the earlier signals that could have given you kind of a bit of a heads up? You had weekly candle close below cloud. You had a bearish TK cross. And so again, this is kind of signaling to you, hey, like change your behavior. Price hasn't been below cloud, by the way, since June of 2019. This is kind of a big deal. And then what happens? Big move to the downside, right? So you have your closure to low, 54% move to the downside. Just like, again, that's very substantial. So flash forward to now. Make it a little bit easier to see. What did we have basically 2 weeks ago? The first weekly candle closure below cloud since that period that I just talked to you about. If you look at the bottom of cloud, it's been outstanding support, which not too surprisingly, we're nearing, like, I understand, and this is something that I've been talking about for a long time. But we've obviously been in a very large range. Where you draw the range, it's up to you. For me, somewhere in this neighborhood is fine, right? It's really, for me, like, there's kind of a little bit of a zone here. But regardless of where your range is, so again, ranges could be here and maybe up to here, something like that. We've been in a multi-year sideways range for the most part. But what's substantial, and what I think is interesting about what's happening now, is that price is obviously below the weekly cloud, which even back here when price made its all-time high, came all the way back down near kind of like where your range lows are, right? Pretty close. These are pretty significant levels anyway. Which, like, there was a point of control here that price came into, which happened to coincide like perfectly with the bottom of cloud. And then we had our push up to 48K. Before now, again, if you look at cloud, it's been very good support. You lost that support. And what happened immediately following this, it's a little similar to the previous instance where I showed this, right? But you had your weekly candle close below cloud. First time it's happened since 2020. And then you had a pretty substantial move. So as soon as this opened, 25.5%, almost a $9,000 move to the downside. Okay, obviously we're at a much higher price than we were back in 2020. But again, just kind of showing you a bit of follow through there. As I look at this right now, there's nothing bullish about what I'm looking at. So does that mean that we can't move higher? Does that mean that we can't push up and test some of these upper levels? Absolutely not. Like, we definitely can. And I think it's pretty likely that we will. I think it's very likely that we're going to come up at least probably to like mid 30s. I think it's likely. The question is it going to be right now? So that's kind of like what we'll look at here very shortly. But on a high time frame, this is telling you, like, you just broke bottom of cloud. And this move down, not too surprising, right? Kind of coming back here, like almost down to this level, 24K. 24 again, kind of like where the cloud was a bit flat over here for a little while. Almost hit there, not quite yet. If I had to venture guess, and I was a betting man, I would venture to say that this downside isn't over yet. Now, does that mean that tomorrow we're going to come down and take that low out? Probably not. Like, this is probably something that's going to take time. Even if that is the low, even if this is the low, 25K, what is it, 25,400, doesn't matter. Like, even if this is the low, this is very likely going to take some time to develop. You're probably going to trade some kind of range, if I had to guess, before trying to, you know, basically building a base, establishing a base here before trying to attempt to move higher. But I think that if I don't think this is the low. So I'm just going to say that. So hopefully, again, if you're bullish, I apologize, but I don't think we're quite done yet. So that's kind of like what the weekly cloud is telling me. Choose fans, this is the only thing that's not bearish about this is the fact that cloud is still technically bullish. Like cloud obviously has not flipped bearish yet, and it's probably going to take some time in order to do so. Like it's not going to happen next week, more than likely. It's going to take a bit of time for this to flip, but you obviously have a bearish ticket cross. Now again, this is going to take a lot of time for something on this time frame to actually shift around to anything meaningful. But your Kijun is way up here, above cloud still, by the way, way up here about 47K. So like price is, I would say, again, it's a little it's out of whack, right? But again, nothing I'm looking at here screams like that this is the low and that we're massively bullish right here, right now. So I throw it out there. Let's go down to a little bit of a lower time frame, to a daily, kind of something that's a little bit more actionable than a weekly. And it's kind of the same thing. So like just looking overall, okay, zooming out, same way that I looked at the weekly. So kind of like the reason why I'm going over Ichimoku, because it's obviously a lot more relevant now. Like we're obviously trending again, which we were like in a pretty big range consolidation here, I would argue. But we had a pretty nice, again, if we were in VIP, we were on top of this one. But we have basically something that relatively new to talk about. Speaking of like, or, you know, in terms of the last video that I did. So bottom line is, once price entered cloud here, moved to the downside and again started to close below cloud. Once that happened, once basically price was below cloud, there's no reason to be looking for longs really. Now I would say this, and I'm talking about Ichimoku specifically, and I'm talking about the daily time frame specifically. Now, there's obviously going to be trades on different time frames. There's going to be like in different, you know, if you use different trading systems, of course, there's going to be longs, which I've taken plenty of longs from here. It's just on, you know, again, like I'm scalping ranges, that type of stuff. I'm not talking about Ichimoku. But really, the thing that I love about Ichimoku is that it tends to keep you out of trouble. Like there are still some nice setups that it gives you, but for the most part, it tends to kind of keep you out of trouble. Very simply here, price below cloud, you're looking one direction really. You're looking for downside. Price has not been above cloud since way back here, 58K. 58, almost 60K. That's the last time price was above cloud. So if you've been looking for downside since price lost 58K for the most part, I would argue that you're probably doing pretty well, right? Now, obviously, we had a really nice setup here. It didn't pan out. I think this was like the last video that I did. We were really looking for 50, I think it was 50 to 51K is what we're looking for, basically this edge-to-edge trade. So obviously the edge-to-edge trade didn't play out, right? It didn't hit the full target, but it gave us a hell of an entry. That gave us a great trade. Zero complaints from me. Profitable trade. All about how you manage your risk, obviously. But we didn't come up fully hit a target. We hit a very critical, massive level. This was your macro range point of control. And I'm talking about this range, right? This huge multi-year range that we've been in now, technically. That the macro point of control is actually right here, along with the range equilibrium as well. So like there was a lot of confluence here. You know, again, if we were able to push above this, I think it's likely we would actually push quite a bit higher, but that didn't happen. So again, like even within this kind of a downtrend, right? Like there was still that really nice edge to edge. Again, we didn't hit the full target. So if you want to say that didn't count, that's completely acceptable. I'm okay with that, but we still did very well there. And then what happened? Price lost cloud again. bearish TK cross, price loss cloud, boom. And there you are. Substantial move to the downside, right? So again, just this part trending again at the moment, kind of what's going on. So where are we at the moment? All right. Basically, Kijun's flat. Tenkin's relatively flat, although if you look at the forecasting dots, it looks like it's going to start moving to the downside again, which was kind of your signal here. So it was right around here, and the forecasting dot was telling me, like the forecasting dots were telling me, hey, like Tenkin's going to start to move down a bit aggressively. So there's a chance that we're going to start trending again, which is what happened. And we had a very big move to the downside, lost a pretty major level here, which I think I actually want to show this to you because I think it's a really important level. But if you just go back to the weekly, it was really this weekly level here. It was this weekly level here was a big deal. Now, I trade off the Bybit chart, but still, we're on Coinbase. Totally fine. But basically, you had this. I just had marked it as a key level, but really, it's this multi-week support here. So you look at where your opens and closes are. Very big support shelf here. If you go to a daily, you can see it even a little bit better. There's obviously a lot of support built up. Price comes up, makes your 48K high into that massive resistance level. Then what happens? Price comes right back, okay, right back to this key weekly level, and you hold this level as support again. So if you're looking for a bounce, this is really the level that you want to see held. Well, what happened? Price broke this key level, clean daily close below, and game over, right? Big move to the downside. And also, you throw this on. Well, where did it go? Uh-oh. What's going on here with TradingView? Okay, I think I'm back. I don't know what happened. Try not to mess it up anymore. But anyway, kind of going back to where we were. So I was turning. Okay, so I was turning. Ichimoku back on. So again, kind of the thing that gave it away a bit here is if you go back, and we can take a look. Oh my goodness, this better not mess it up. Let's kind of go back here and look. So here we go, forecasting dots. Let's play it forward. So basically we came back down to test this key level, right? And then Tenkin's acting as really strong resistance at the moment. And there you go. So here was the closure. So the move down, Tenkin getting very aggressive to the downside, kind of telling you, hey, like this move very likely could have some follow through there. And there you go. So then we started trending pretty swiftly to the downside. All right. So yeah, let's exit that. But anyway, the point is this key level, which I think going forward is immensely important, by the way. So this 37,700 level, I'm aware that there's a CME gap below this. I think it was at 34, 35K, something like that. I'm aware of that. But I'll leave that for everybody else to talk about. For me, a key pivotal level that needs to be reclaimed in order for me to think that the low is in. Let's just say, like, this is step one for me at the minimum is this key level. Because, and this is not the first time that this level has been relevant, by the way. This 37.7 level is actually previous weekly support level as well. So like it has a lot of interplay with Bitcoin at that level. It's very important. And what do you notice as well? You look at where the daily cloud and kind of how it's shaped at the moment. Where is this key level? If Bitcoin was to reclaim 37.7, again, this isn't something that I expect to happen really like anytime soon. Meaning like I don't think this happens this week. I don't really think it even happens next week. It's hard for me to say. Bitcoin does a lot of crazy things though. All right, but just looking at cloud here, if Bitcoin was to get back above cloud, and then so that's kind of step one, right? For me to say, okay, look, things look way more bullish than they did, and I think like we could be in the beginning stages of a potential like larger term trend, like higher time frame trend. It's really getting back above cloud. That's first step. Second step would be this key level. I think if Bitcoin was to do both things, that would be really impressive. And like I think from there, okay, like at that point, now obviously you're significantly off the low. So hopefully there'd be another setup that would get long, right? That would make me want to take swing long position. Because it's not here. I'm just being honest. It's not here at the moment. Although arguably, if you took a stab off the low, you did move up like 24%. That's a nice move, okay? But I'm just gonna say there's nothing that's gonna tell me, say, hey, like I need to be in longs, or I need to stop looking for shorts, essentially, because that's really how I've been trading this. I've been very short biased, especially since we broke this. I think my swing long, or I'm sorry, my swing short position 42.5 is basically right up on this spike. It's like what was it? I think it was on this spike this day. Yeah, and then I've just been holding it since. Now, that's what it would take for me to kind of like flip my bias. At the moment, if you look at this, there's nothing bullish about this. The only thing I could say that could make, and again, this isn't necessarily saying that it's bullish, but a mean reversion. So at least coming up to Tenkin, that's 32.6, which by the way is pretty close to this level. This previous low from back here in January, right earlier in the year, I think coming back up to test the underside of this wick, something like that, totally okay, and that wouldn't change anything on the higher time frames. Again, kind of look at where your Tenkin is getting. Looks like over the next week or so, it's going to get relatively aggressive. So, do we have another test to the downside, or is Bitcoin able to hold these levels? Which, to be honest, is doing a pretty decent job of holding these levels at the moment. I think if I had to take a guess, I think we probably come down to mid 27, by the way. So like it's kind of like an area where I'm looking 27K, mid 27, something like that, before a potential larger bounce. That's just what I think. Obviously, happy to be proven wrong. But coming back up to 33K, testing the Tenkin, testing this previous wick down here, reclaim that would look pretty good. Although this level is going to start dropping. So again, you can see the Tenkin forecasting dots are looking like it's going to start sloping downward. The next step, which is remaining pretty flat at the moment, is the Kijun. So like for a full mean reversion play, would be obviously step one, reclaiming your Tenkin. If you're able to hold that, next step that I'm really looking at, as long as it looks like this, by the way. So as long as like this is how the cloud looks, how your TK lines look, we'll be looking to come up to your mid, again, kind of like basically your mean revert here, 36K ish, something like that. I think that's fair. Could pull a fib. There's a couple fib pulls that I think are interesting here. Again, 50% would put you right back into right back to equilibrium here at your Kijun. And then obviously your golden pocket would be a little bit higher up here, kind of like where the cloud is at the moment, right? So like if this was to happen before, I'd say by the beginning of June, something like that, that's kind of like potential area. I don't think this is likely, to be honest, but it's possible. Another pull is basically here where it started. Like this is kind of where things really started to cascade, right? So literally like you had your range, or you had, you're holding this support level really nicely, and then started to, like, this is where you started to get very aggressive to the downside. So basically taking your fib pull from basically where we broke down to the low, your 0.5 lines up with your Tenkin pretty nicely. Golden pocket puts you where? About CME gap. I think that's rather interesting. Okay, so like your golden pocket here, which you'll see on my charts a lot, put you right around here. So again, that would fulfill the CME gap. Be pretty interesting. And then your 786 actually lines up right with your daily Kijun, as like where it's currently sitting. So I think, for the most part, I think if we do get a push to the upside, it's probably like if we get a push to the upside first, I think that probably gets faded. Higher probability that I do not think we're just going to V-shape recovery, V-shape recover out of this. I don't think so. I think what's more likely to happen again, if you're have massive hopium and you're praying that everybody that this is the bottom, what you want to see, in my opinion, is at least like a long form consolidation. Put in a range here, build a nice solid base, and then can look to trade that range and beginning again, start flipping resistance back into support and kind of like working right higher, right? So I think we're very early into this still. Obviously traditional markets, which I'm not going to spend any time on this video, which is unfortunate. There's actually quite a bit going on. Maybe I'll save it for tomorrow if I have time to do a video. But there's quite a bit going on over in traditional markets. Obviously, we're having pretty significant moves down there as well. Things look pretty bearish, but we'll get into that in the next video. So that's kind of like what I'm looking at for Bitcoin again. I do think we could we could pop up to 30, like mid 32K, no problem. I think that's possible. What I would like to see first though, I actually would like to at least come down to mid 28 again, something like that. Maybe another test for the next couple of days. Maybe get another test lower here before some upside. But I do think kind of like what I showed earlier, getting a little bit of a deeper retracement here. That I think if we were to come down to mid 27, maybe even a bit lower. I think your pivot, your weekly pivot, yeah, it's actually a bit lower, low 26 actually. But I think if we were to come down test somewhere in this region, I really kind of like this low 27, mid 27 area. If that was to hold, then I think again we could kind of, it's actually a little bit higher there, but we could come up and test again 32.9, 33K, something like that. I think that would be on the table at that point, but probably defended if I had to wage a guess. And then that's just, it's really been the trend. So it's hard to fight the trend, and that's one thing I would say is don't fight the trend. People are going to be trying to time bottoms, and the thing is, I'm gonna say this. Eventually, you're going to be right. If you keep buying and you keep calling bottoms, eventually you're going to be correct. The question is, do you have any money left? Okay. And I see people trying to call bottoms and saying we're never going to go below here again, then we break it. We're never going to go below this level. Oh, and then we break that, and then over and over again. The thing I'll say is, like, I would be very careful just trying to time bottoms. It's just for clout. It's for nothing else. It's not a terrible idea, in my opinion, to wait for a trend reversal. Give yourself a little bit more confidence to take, especially a larger position, in my opinion. Give yourself a little bit more confidence to like have the trend at least backing your position. It's nice to bottom tick like and try to catch the low. Not arguing that, but I think that the people who are trying to do that now they've been losing money, and they're going to continue to lose money until the trend changes. So it's like you can make it a lot easier on yourself by not fighting the trend and just trading with the trend. That's just what I would say. And again, kind of like why I like Ichimoku so much. Bottom line is, as long as price is below cloud, I'm not interested in like massive swing longs, like looking for new all-time highs or anything like that, or like very significant trending moves. I'm not looking for that as long as price is below cloud. Keep it very simple. So that's kind of like how the daily picture looks, which again, this is something that can take weeks and weeks and weeks to develop. We just had a pretty big trending move to the downside. Now things are cooling off. When you see your Tenkan and Kijun flattening out, what does that tell you? That there's a loss of momentum, okay? And like things are cooling off again now. Tenkan looks like it again. Looks like it's going to be a little bit more aggressive to the downsides. We'll have to see if that has an impact on price. But we were just in a multi-month range, multi-month consolidation. Again, there was a nice channel here as well, right? You could certainly have this channel, which I did have this channel on my chart. Very nice channel here, right? So you have your high, low, high, low, support, which by the way, what was also giving you like confluence with this key level here that I went over. When this candle broke, you broke your nice channel that you have. Bear flag, if you want to call it that, doesn't matter. Like however you frame this, breaking this channel to the downside that cleanly and losing this multi-week key level support here, like the key weekly level. And like, no matter how you were looking at this, you got a pretty substantial move. And then you obviously had, Ichimoku pretty bearish. Price below cloud, bearish TK cross, you get the point. Like there was a lot of things telling you, saying, hey, breaking this level, that's not good. Got a lot of follow through. So that is the daily. So let's do one more time frame because there's actually something relatively interesting, kind of similar to this, right? So you have your edge to edge trade here. Again, didn't fulfill itself, but it gave you pretty nice, like there was quite a bit of meat there if you had to ask me. Certainly tradable. Let's go down to a 4 hour. So this is on the horizon. This is probably, I would say, the more meaningful. And again, look at the key level. I didn't mark it as a key level here, but it's basically this low. It's this previous low. Okay. aligns really nicely with the top of the 4-hour cloud. So what is this looking? Again, Chico span is above price. You have bullish TK cross, and price is grinding out against cloud right now. So this is, again, lower time frame obviously is going to give you, potential earlier trend. It's going to give you, things are going to change a lot faster on a 4-hour than we on a daily. Makes sense. So what's interesting here is that if you're able to get a 4-hour close inside a cloud, really you'd be giving yourself a potential edge to edge trade looking for this basically 33K, slightly below that. So kind of giving you that edge to edge trade. Now the problem that I have with this is, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just, as far as a risk reward goes, it's hard to say where you're going to get that closure. It's very important to wait for that 4-hour closure inside a cloud. That could potentially give you a signal. The thing is, like, does it confirm before Chico, like if Chico span starts to go inside a price again or below price, then you're not going to get that setup. Then we're going to kind of have this, kind of going back to your daily here, we're going to have like this mess where you were getting closures inside, but you weren't getting the full confirmation to take you that trade, which, by the way, anybody who was front running that signal got absolutely wrecked, right? So like finally, we were given the green light here on the 22nd. So this is when all the criteria was met. And then you see, like, you got a pretty nice move. It didn't fulfill the target, but you got a really nice move. Same thing that I think is kind of like could be shaping up here. Could give you a potential entry. Or at least give you a bit of an idea that we might be looking for a bit of a larger relief rally, if you will. But is Chico span going to be above price? When does this 4-hour candle close inside cloud? Is it going to be on this candle? Is it going to be 3 days from now? It's hard to say, right? But this is kind of giving me like lowest time frame kind of interesting setup that I think could give us a bit of a relief to the upside. The thing I don't like about it at the moment is your Kijun is way down here. Obviously, here's the bottom of your cloud, but your Kijun is even below where that is. So as far as like where, like, would, if you got your 4-hour close inside a cloud right here, let's just hypothetically say that, your stop really would be below Kijun. So like you'd have to think, is that good risk reward? And that'd be something you have to figure out for yourself. Is this worth it? Like, is that good risk reward? For me, it's kind of on the fence. I would say it's not that great. For like the edge to edge setups that I typically like to play, I'm looking for a risk reward that's better than this. Let's just say that. But again, could still give you a bit of insight to say, hey, like you do have this on the table. So at the moment, we're at resistance, fighting basically low 30K. Did have a nice little spike up here a little bit ago, but at the moment, nothing's really changed. Price is holding up relatively well, but 4-hour kind of giving you a potential signal to say, hey, we might have some continuation here soon, but you are obviously still at resistance. Price is not closed inside a cloud yet. If you start to close below this Kijun again, I think it's incredibly likely at that point, especially if we take this low out, but you get a 4-hour close below Kijun, I think it's incredibly likely that we're going to come to mid 27K at least, like first stop. So I will say that. That's pretty much it for Bitcoin. This is something that we'll keep tabs on, continue to go over, but I just kind of wanted to break that down a little bit for you. So this video is getting a little long. I'm just going to do one altcoin. There's one that's kind of interesting to me right now, and it's KNC. This is one that I was actually on vacation, and I missed this entry, unfortunately. 4-hour gave you a pretty nice one. So here's kind of what I'm talking about. You have a really nice edge-to-edge trade here, actually. And again, this is hindsight at the moment. I'm not in this trade. I just happened to see it earlier. I know that I'm pretty sure there's some VIP. There's some people in VIP that are in this trade. But kind of like, where would it have triggered for you? Let me see. I want to get this right. 185, so not there. It would have been here. So this would have been your earliest entry. So you're looking for be something like this. So again, is this the best risk reward trade? That's something you have to figure out for yourself. It's essentially how it would look. Obviously, like, there's different strategies, so like stuff that I go over in VIP, and other other potential ways to ladder yourself in, etc., etc. Could have potentially got better risk reward there, but that's like worst case scenario. I mean, obviously it depends on how you filled it, but this is like worst, you know, worst RR that there is on this trade. But still, you're basically, you know, it's not that great, but still a setup. So at the moment, price inside a cloud, getting a pretty nice move up. Obviously run into some resistance here at the moment, but your target, you'd be looking for 330-ish, 335, 336, 337, somewhere in there. And the interesting thing about this one was obviously KNC had a massive run to the upside, absolutely massive run to the upside. But once it put its top in, right, and you look, price closed inside a cloud, opposite edge of the cloud, and on this candle, once it broke, it just died. I mean, straight died. So again, price below cloud, bearish TK cross. I think cloud is probably bearish at this point. I have to go back and look. Regardless, as soon as this happened, just continue the trend straight down, no love, no recourse, no nothing, just straight down. Now you're getting a pretty nice snapback, which after a massive trending move like this, it's going to happen very likely. Now Waves hasn't really had any much of, which I absolutely killed that short. But you know, if you're looking basically 50% retracement, coming back to, you know, top of cloud again here, like I think that's acceptable, right? Like that you would be expecting some kind of relief rally after this, but it doesn't really change anything for the higher time frames in my opinion. But again, just kind of wanted to show you edge to edge setup. Not the best risk reward depending on where you entered. If you entered in late or you averaged down a little bit, like then obviously the risk reward was much better. But target would be basically the flat part of this cloud here. And if this hits this target, I would not really expect price to break immediately and continue from there. I think it's more likely to chop around here and at least wait for cloud to flip bullish, which is probably going to take a while. Now, again, 4-hour time frame, and things are going to happen faster, obviously, but this is still going to take some time to flip that around. Now, looking at the daily, basically coming back up very close to your Tenkin and very close to the bottom of the cloud. Like basically, this is just mean reverting at the moment. So that's kind of, again, like I think if price comes up here, I would be, again, if price, as long as price is below cloud, I'm not interested in looking for any kind of like continuation to the upside. Something like, obviously cloud very important, but you probably get, I think you probably do push up a bit higher. I would keep in mind, so like looking at, you know, as far as that upside target for the edge to edge trade, I would definitely keep in mind where your Tenkin is though, because you could reject off of that. I do think that it's pretty likely that this puts in another kind of like a local high somewhere in this region before another move to the downside. Now, do you go back and revisit this low? I'm not going to say that, but I at least think you're going to pull back pretty substantially before maybe another try to the upside, right? Like I do think that you're probably going to run into some resistance, which here, if you look at your 382, is basically running through your 382 fib retracement. So there's some resistance in this area, but I don't think like you're too far away. So like I think really the you know 337 target that the edge to edge is giving you, I think that's probably as high as I would say in my opinion. Obviously, if it goes through there, great. For anybody who's long, I don't have a horse in this one at all. I don't have a position, but I do think that you're probably like looking at it from this perspective. I think that you're closer to another, like at least a pretty decent pullback than not. So that's KNC. Went over Bitcoin, went over this altcoin. If there's other alts that you would like me to cover, please put it in the comments and I'll be happy to do it the next time around. But I think I'm going to leave the video off here. And you know, I guess I kind of want to figure if I want to talk about trading bots or if I want to save that for the next video. I'll probably save it for the next video. Give a little bit of an update there. I have been running new settings that I've obviously shared with VIP, and I've been running these settings for a while now. I'm very happy with how they've been performing. And you know, I'm thinking about doing another bot video to kind of giving a bit of an update as far as settings go and how I'm like basically how am I trading this market in terms of trading bots as well, right? And you know, again, I'm happy with how they've done. And you know, there's some stuff, there's still some bags. I think I have a couple. There's 3 deals that are from January that I'm still in, which I would like to get out of those, but they're not the settings that I typically run. So they were much more aggressive settings, and I was giving them giving them a shot, and unfortunately I'm stuck in them. But basically once I'm out of those deals, then with the settings that I've been running, I'm very happy with how they've been doing. I'll just say that. So if you want that video as well, let me know in the comments. But just a last reminder, and it would be incredibly helpful to me and my channel. If you appreciate the channel, you appreciate the stuff about bots, if you could leave a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. It helps push out the video to more people. So with that being said, trade safe out there. We'll see you on the next one.